There comes a moment in life when you have to stop blaming what happened to you and start deciding what happens next. Maybe the last few years didn't go the way you planned. Maybe you lost money. Maybe you lost a relationship. Maybe you lost confidence in yourself. Maybe you made decisions you wish you could take back. And sometimes the hardest thing isn't losing something. The hardest thing is looking at yourself afterward and wondering, can I really become the person I used to be again? The answer is yes, but maybe you don't need to become the old version of yourself. Maybe you need to become a stronger version. Think about a house after a storm. When a hurricane damages a house, you don't look at the broken windows and say, well, I guess this house is finished. No, you clean it up. You repair what can be repaired. You replace what was destroyed. And sometimes you build it back even stronger than it was before. Your life can be rebuilt the same way. You may have cracks in your confidence. You may have made mistakes in your past. You may have wasted years worrying about things you couldn't control. But none of that means your story is over. Before 2027, rebuild yourself. Not for people who doubted you. Not to prove your worth to someone who walked away. Do it because you finally understand that your future deserves more attention than your past. Look at what happens in real life. A person gets rejected from a job. At first, they feel embarrassed. They think, maybe I'm not good enough. But 6 months later, they learn a new skill, improve their RAA, SUME, meet new people, and get an opportunity they never would have found if that first door had opened. At the time, the rejection felt like the end. Later, they realized it was redirection. Sometimes what feels like a setback is simply life forcing you to grow. Maybe you have been waiting for someone to come and change your life. Maybe you're waiting for motivation. Maybe you're waiting for the perfect opportunity. But you cannot spend another year waiting. Start with what you have. If you don't have money, start with discipline. If you don't have connections, start with learning. If you don't have confidence, start by keeping small promises to yourself. Wake up when you said you would. Finish what you started. Take care of your body. Read something that makes you wiser. Spend less time comparing yourself to people online. Stop explaining your dreams to people who only see your limitations. And most importantly, stop talking to yourself like you're your own enemy. You wouldn't speak to someone you love the way you sometimes speak to yourself. You wouldn't tell your friend you're a failure. You'll never get your life together. So why tell yourself that? You made mistakes. That doesn't make you a mistake. You lost something. That doesn't mean you lost your future. You are behind where you thought you would be. That doesn't mean you're finished. There is still time to change direction. There is still time to learn. There is still time to forgive. There is still time to rebuild. But rebuilding requires honesty. You have to look at your life and say, what needs to change? Maybe it's your habits. Maybe it's your circle. Maybe it's your priorities. Maybe it's the way you manage money. Maybe it's the amount of time you waste. Maybe it's your attitude. Maybe you've been asking God for a new season while continuing to live with the habits of the old one. You can't build a new life with the same choices that destroyed the old one. At some point, you have to make a decision. I'm not taking this old version of myself into the next chapter. And don't worry if the progress is slow. A person who saves a little money every week may not feel rich after 1 month. But after a year, their life can look completely different. Someone who exercises for 20 minutes a day may not see a dramatic change tomorrow. But give it months and their body changes. Someone who spends 30 minutes every day learning a valuable skill may feel like they're making no progress. Then one day, that skill changes their career. That's how transformation usually happens. Not overnight, quietly, consistently, one decision at a time. So don't underestimate today. You may think today is just another ordinary day, but the habits you choose today are building the person you will meet in 2027. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're rebuilding. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, you're rebuilding. Every time you choose faith over fear, you're rebuilding. Every time you get back up after failing, you're rebuilding. And maybe nobody is going to clap for you in the beginning. That's okay. A foundation is built underground. Nobody sees it. Nobody celebrates it. But when the storm comes, that foundation is the reason the building is still standing. So build your foundation now. Strengthen your mind. Protect your peace. Take your responsibilities seriously. Be careful who you allow into your life. Get closer to God. And don't let one bad chapter convince you that the whole book is bad. You may have experienced a difficult season, but difficult seasons don't last forever. Winter doesn't ask permission before leaving. One day, spring comes, and your life can have a spring too. Maybe you've been disappointed. Maybe you've been overlooked. Maybe you've been waiting longer than you expected. But don't confuse waiting with wasting. Something can be developing even when you can't see it. The person you become during the waiting season may be more important than the thing you've been waiting for. So if you're watching this and thinking, I've wasted too much time, let me remind you, you still have today. And today is powerful. You don't have to fix your entire life this week. Just make the next right decision. Make the phone call, apply for the job, start the business plan, pay off one bill, read the book, go for the walk, apologize, forgive, pray, turn off the distractions, get serious about your future. You don't need a perfect beginning. You just need a beginning. And before 2027 arrives, make a promise to yourself, I will not carry the same excuses into another year. I will learn from what happened. I will stop living in what I cannot change. I will take responsibility for what I can control. I will rebuild my confidence. I will rebuild my discipline. I will rebuild my faith. And when I fall, I will get back up because my past may explain me, but it does not have to define me. Your best days don't have to be behind you. There are still doors you haven't walked through. There are still people you haven't met. There are still lessons you haven't learned. There are still opportunities you cannot see yet. So don't give up on yourself now. Rebuild, brick by brick, day by day, decision by decision. And when you look back one day, you may realize that the season you thought was breaking you was actually preparing you for the strongest version of yourself. Before 2027, don't just change your calendar, change your direction. Rebuild your life, rebuild your confidence, rebuild your faith, and step into your next chapter knowing that your story is not over. You're still becoming.